I am assuming most of you are aware of the the shenanigans that I've had to deal with this morning. I'll give a small synopsis on what's sort of happened, but essentially, probably shouldn't have done it, but I did, and I took some trades off stream, which I don't normally do or like doing just because I don't think it's fair on members, but it just wasn't a sexy trade. I was below trend, but I did see this halfway back and it did hold. As soon as we held that 62, I went long at this 50 and it was a really nice trade. You know, I did a one time frame to the upside. I exited right on the 23 and it was just perfect. It was just perfect. One or two minis and I managed to get like, you know, $3,500 to $4,500 per account, just so you can see here. And, you know, I took a payout, as you're all aware, which I've also been paid for. So you can see on here, I've also been paid. Okay, so the 16K that I took out yesterday has hit the bank. That's in pounds. So obviously $16,000 is different to pounds. But point being is I did take some trades off stream, literally like 7 p.m. my time. So it was quite late on at night. Built the accounts back up to I had 4,800. So all of this was able to be withdrawn because I still had 5K of buffer. So basically anything above yesterday I could have taken out. So 3, 6, 9, 10. There's like $15,000 here plus the 5Ks in each of the balances as the buffer, right? So there's like $35,000. Cut a long story short, as I was long on one of my accounts, I tried to use the trade group and it didn't work initially. So I started to just trade them manually. And as I exited one of them, it did it twice. And I went short in one whilst I was still long in the other 3. I saw it straight away and exited straight away within 2 seconds. And if you haven't paid attention to anything that's happened this morning and you've only just got up, this is basically what happened. So I was negative overlap on within literally a second, right? You know, 2 seconds max, right? So essentially they pretty much just say, you know, it's an instant, basically it's an instant, here you go. So it says it on here. No hedging, but there's a quote. I don't know if I put the quote on here now. Yeah, accidental overlap between pro accounts constitutes a violation. And even worse, I mean, what they actually say on their actual website is slightly even worse than that. Sorry, on the message. Let me just find it on here for you because I do think it's quite important. So you can see here because if you don't know these rules. However, you can see where it says whether intentionally or accidentally requires to disable the accounts and forfeit any profits to maintain fairness and consistency for all traders. Okay, best policy in the industry apparently, but they don't want to pay out. So that's what happened to me this morning. So that's what's happened to my accounts. I had $35,000 in there. And of course, all the accounts have been disabled now because I took a trade. And in one of the accounts, I had a small overlap. And yeah, doesn't matter if it was intentionally or not. It's all gone. So yeah, short-lived. But I will just be sticking with, just so you're aware, I will be sticking just with these firms that I mentioned this morning. Pretty much Trade Day and Tradeify. I went on ChatGTP and sort of got it to list, pretty much read the internet on the policies that they have specifically for this issue that I just ran into. And in terms of the actual policies, in terms of in the favor of the trader. And it recommended Trade Day and Tradeify. And the second two to that was Funded Next and My Funded Futures. So I said, knowing this, list each of the top firms with the overall best payout policies and the policies for the trader. So I think I'm just going to stick with Trade Day and Tradeify at the moment, and I will just see how it goes with those. I have had accounts with both of them, but I've just blown the accounts and not been able to actually get to the payout stage. Typically, it's the evaluation. I'm fine in the live account, but in the evaluation, I always just go really, really heavy on the size because I just want to get to the payout stage, which I know is a fault of mine, and I'm aware of it, and I guess I just need to work on that. But I haven't changed anything on my chart, so what you see is literally what I had on my screen yesterday, just as I left. This is the trade that I took. Again, it was really, really nice, you know, really, really smooth. closed above the 62, traded the 23. I mean, it's pretty much textbook in terms of ATR lows, trades the traditional, equal highs, takes out that equal high, and you pretty much fade at the overnight midpoint and the trend line. This is that trend line, and this is the RTH trend line. So like, it was a really, really nice setup. I guess the only thing obviously wasn't going in its favor is you weren't above the previous day highs and you weren't above trend. That's why I didn't really want to alert it, because again, I only really like to ideally alert setups that I'm really confident in. I liked it, but I just wasn't enough confident enough to let everyone know that I was in a trade. And maybe that's on my part, but you know, again, I apologize for that. But anyway, yeah, going into today, we have found some support at the halfway back from pretty much the week now. So going from Friday's high to high on the 50, which obviously we know where that is, but just if you want to draw that, it is from here, and that extension is where we have found the low. Okay, so that is the 50. And this is that halfway back on there. And again, we have traded it once and we are above. And you could even argue we're actually in a 50 to 50, right? So annoyingly, you know, previous day high is right up here. So we've got, the previous day high is above the magnitude on the day for the ET8 session. So I'm not going to, you know, I'm just going to be straight with you and say, you can trade the long side. Well, I can trade the long side, right? But I'm just going to have to be aware that in most cases, the better setups are going to be when we're trading at or above the previous day high, i.e. in trend, but the magnitude on the day is less than that. So trading all of this here into this range is doable, but might just be a lot harder, and we could just do the opposite and obviously sell off. So I'm just going to have to be aware of that and be okay with, if we do something like this, then I'm not going to cry and, you know, say that trading isn't for me, right? I'm aware of that. So, and there's nothing I can do about it because that level is where it is, right? I can't change that. The price is 230 points below where I'd like to be wanting to see structure to the upside. So we are technically below trend, and you can see on the weekly, kind of just stuck really inside this range, pretty much at the midpoint on all indexes apart from the SMH. SMH is more sold off. I guess that's probably because of maybe AMD earnings. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But all the other indexes are pretty much at the midpoint or thereabouts. We are above trend on the overnight, so we could potentially pop higher. But yeah, that's all I really have going in today. It's just going to be probably a smaller or lesser probability day in terms of my trade success rate, just purely because, again, I would prefer the previous day high to be, let's say, like here. So then you could do something like this, right? If this previous day high was here, then you could have a break, a retest, and then we've got magnitude up to ATR highs, or even this negative 100 of this extension. That's what would be really clean, but at the moment that is pretty much here. So all of this movement could just be really, really hard to trade. That's what I'm trying to say. In terms of the short side, I guess the market did trade shorts yesterday, but I don't think there was a traditional. Not that I traded any of the shorts, but there could have been. Maybe. No, I don't think there was anything that was super clean. Kind of got front run on the close, which again, that front run was only, in my opinion, just because of this halfway back. Traded 23 completion, which is why you take profits, in my opinion, at that level, or at least scale out. And then it came all the way back down and came down into that daily halfway back support. So yeah, I would favor the long side, but at the same time, I'm aware that it's probably going to be very tricky to trade it, or at least less favorable until you're probably back into Tuesday's highs, and then hopefully that can become the support going into the end of the week. If not, it'll be the exact opposite and it'll be the resistance. So with that being said, I'm going to move over to the Discord. If there's any questions, let me know. If anyone wants me to clarify anything from what's happened with Take Profit, there is a YouTube video that I've put out, and hopefully that explains a lot of it. Yeah, and hopefully you can appreciate I'm not in the best of mindsets right now just because of a lot of stuff going on. That's one of it, but there's some other stuff as well, but I won't go into too much detail. But yeah, probably just not going to be my jolly self for a couple of days. But yeah, I'll catch you all tomorrow on YouTube.